What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the tutorial for how to create your very first video game. Today we're going to add another model to our game. This model is going to be for the farm. It's actually going to be two different models. It's going to be a model for an empty farm and then a model for a farm with a crop as well. So with the intro out of the way, let's go ahead and hop into Blender and get started. Alright guys, so here we are in Blender. We're going to open up our ground tile. And this will be kind of our base that we're going to work on, just so that we know exactly what the size is going to be here. First thing, before I even get started on any of this, I'm just going to save this as a new file, and I'm going to call it farm. Just like that. Okay, so now we've got our file saved, and we're going to actually create the build out for the farm itself. So we're going to click Shift A to add, and we're going to add a mesh, and we're going to add a cube. We're going to scale that down so that it's smaller than the tile itself. I'm going to you can scale it with S, and then right here I'm going to SZ to scale it only on the Z axis to make it a little bit thinner, and then G to grab it, Z to move it up on the Z axis itself. It's still a little too thick for my liking. And we'll put it relatively even with that ground. That should do the trick right there. I'm going to go ahead and add a material to this as well. So over here on the right hand side on the materials panel, I'm going to click a new, and I'm going to call this one dirt. And then dirt will be colored like brown. But feel free to, again, I'm just kind of walking you through this process. You don't have to make every single decision that I make in this. All right, so we've got our dirt. One thing that I want to do as well is I want to add a little fence line around our dirt. So I'm going to add another mesh. So Shift A, mesh. I'm going to do another cube. I'm going to scale this down so that it's more or less kind of like a fence post, basically, is what I'm going to go for here. Why? And I'm going to do S, Shift, Z to to scale everything except the Z axis. That's going to give me something like a post. That should probably be fine. I'm going to GX that over, GZ it down. I feel like it's a little too short, so I'm going to SZ it a little bit taller, and then GZ it, bring it up to about that level. Let's put it right here on the corner though. That should be fine. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and pick a material here as well. So I'm going to add a new one. I'm going to call this fence, and I'm going to make my fence, I guess white. Well, let's do the white picket fence, I guess, thing. I don't know. Feel free to pick whatever color you want, but I'm just going to go with white, make it simple. Then I'm going to hold down Shift and press D, and it's going to duplicate it. Now you'll notice I've got this secondary item that I've made here. If I right click, it'll place it in the exact same position where it started. So right there. So I'm going to just do that and press G to grab it on the Y axis. And I'm going to just move that back to this back corner over here somewhere. I feel like that's not touching. Is it? I don't know. It's close enough, I guess. Okay. So we've got both of those. Now I'm going to click both of these by holding down Shift while I click them. Now they're both selected. I'm going to click Shift D to duplicate again, right click to put them right there, and then I'm going to GX to bring them all the way over to these corners over here. So now we've got our 4 fence posts. Now I'm going to make the actual boards that kind of go between all of these. So I'm going to press A to add another mesh, another cube. I'm going to scale that down to size. I'm going to go for like a 2x12-ish style look where it's kind of fatter, but feel free to do whatever it is that you'd like to do here. We're going to S it on the Z. I'm going to bring that up some. It still feels pretty thick there. Make that thinner. Something like that. Bring it up here. Scale it out that way. Touching. Maybe just a little bit more. Yeah, something like that. Still feels a little tall actually, so I'm gonna crank it down just a little bit more. All right, now I'm going to G on the Y to bring it back to where it's touching these fence posts. And then G it on the Z to bring it up. There we go. And then I'm gonna Shift D to duplicate it. And I'm gonna GZ it down so that we've got our little fence area. Cool. Now I'm gonna click on both of these, Shift D to duplicate, right click to put it in place. I'm gonna go ahead and G on the Y axis and move it back to this backside here. It's on the outside, like something like that. Perfect. Okay, and then I'm going to Shift D again, right click. Then I'm gonna R on the Z by 90 degrees. So if I RZ 90, boom, it rotates at 90 degrees perfectly. Now we're going to center this up a little bit and move it over to the side over here. A little bit more, something like that. Cool. And then Shift D, right click, G on the X again, and move one over to this side. Cool. So there we go. We've got our fence looking pretty good. Okay. So this will be our farm. I'm going to go ahead and click Control S to save that. All right. So now what I'm going to do is File, Save As. I'm going to save this as farm joined. Because what we're going to do is select everything, select the ground model again to make sure that that's got that yellow outline there. And then we're going to click Control J to join those meshes. And there we go. We've got one solid mesh. Control S to save. And now I'm going to export this file as an FBX. And I'm going to call it farm. Actually, I'll call it farm empty. And I'm only going to export the mesh. And on the geometry, I'm going to select edge and then export that file. Okay, so we've got our farm exported. Now, though, we need to make the actual crop. So I figured we could do something kind of simple. I'm just going to do like a watermelon just because it should be relatively easy to make. Feel free to do whatever it is that you'd like to do. The implementation in Unreal Engine will be the same. But what we're going to do is open up our farm blend, not the farm joined. So we've got the farm.blend open. And I'm going to go ahead and save it as, I'm going to call it watermelon. Okay, so now that I've got that saved, I'm going to click Control A. And I'm going to get a UV sphere. Okay. And we're going to scale that down to a more reasonable size. Whenever you get it to roughly the size that you want it to be, I'm going to make like just a few really big watermelons. I'm going to do R to rotate it. I'm going to rotate it on the Y axis by 90 degrees. So RY 90, and that'll give you this right here. Then I'm going to S it, scale it on the X, and I make it a little bit more oblong. Still feels a little too big. Okay, something like that will be good for me. And I'm going to G it down on the Z axis till it's pretty much touching the ground here. And I'm actually going to, if you right click on the object itself, you can see we've got like all these, like the faces are showing extra hard. So if we right click on it and click Shade Smooth, then it'll make it look like it's nice and smooth. It kind of looks like an egg right now, but that's okay. We're going to color it in and it'll look a little bit better. So we're going to go into edit mode. Actually, you can do this in edit mode too, but we're going to go ahead and add the base material. So I'm going to call it dark green or something, and select Get like this. A little darker. Yeah, something like that should be fine. And then what I'm going to do is up here in the top, making sure we're in edit mode, we're going to select the face select option here. And if you hold down Alt while you click, it will select. Ooh, we don't want it that way. We want it the other way. There we go. So if you click on the face itself, it might go like this way. But if you click on the like the vertex here or whatever, the edge, then it'll go this way, that's what we want. So we're gonna do that, and we're gonna hold down Alt and Shift to do more. I'm just gonna select like every third like row of faces here. Not that one. This one. That's not going to work out perfectly, is it? That's okay. We'll have one that's a little bit closer together. Maybe we can rotate that or something. But before we do that, let's add an additional color by up here in the materials panel. We're going to click the plus button and new color. And I'm going to call this one light green. Just like that. And we're going to find a lighter green color. And we'll click assign. And then let's go into object mode, see how that looks. That looks pretty good. I'll take that. I'm gonna rotate it though, because this is gonna bother me. So R on the X by like -40. No, not negative. R on the X by 45. I think that'll put it kind of on the ground. Yeah, so I won't be able to see it as much. All right. Then I'm going to put this kind of up here in the corner. And I'm going to duplicate that. I'm going to make 4 total. And do that. Cool. So there's our watermelon farm. Pretty massive watermelons going on. I'm going to save it. And then I'm going to save as watermelon joined. And then I'm going under the watermelon joined file. I'll select everything. Again, then selecting the ground tile to make sure that you've got this yellow outline. And I'm going to click Control J. And that's going to join everything. And then I'm going to save it. And then I'm going to export as an FBX. And again, on this, we're going to only select the mesh. We're going to change the geometry to be edge. And on the name, I'm just going to call it watermelon. I'm going to export that. So now that we've got those files exported, what we're going to do is hop over to Unreal Engine and go ahead and implement that into our game. Didn't really think about this beforehand, but what we actually want to get rid of the ground tile once we've made our farm itself. We only want the farm. So we're going to just delete that. We'll save it, and we'll have to go through these steps again. So we'll save as farm joined, select everything, select the ground, Control J to join, save it, export it as an FBX. I'm going to do it as farm empty again, mesh only, edge, export, save, and then I'm going to open up the watermelon and do the same thing. We're going to delete the ground and save it, save as, watermelon joined, select everything, select the ground, Control J to join, save, export, FBX, watermelon, mesh, geometry is going to be edge, export, save it. Okay, now let's go into Unreal Engine and import those. All right, so here we are in our game. We've got our main level opened up, and we're going to go into our content drawer. Under the buildings folder that we created, we're going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call this farm. in our farm folder that we just made, we're going to import these models that we just made and edited. So we've got farm and watermelon. We're going to import those. Default settings, import all. And there we go. We've got our items in here. Let's see how watermelon turned out, because the round, I wonder if the edge, but yeah, it looks pretty good. We're going to be fine with it. Okay. So we've got our models here, and those models are going to be used as a blueprint. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to create a copy of the town hall by going Control D to duplicate, and I'm going to call it farm, and double click to open farm. And again, if you ever get this screen, just click open full blueprint editor, and just stay up there, bro. Okay. So here we are. We've got it. I'm going to go into the viewport and go ahead and change this default static mesh. I'm going to change that to be our farm. Empty. There we go. Oh, I think that that'll work. I guess we'll find out. We can always adjust that later if needed. Okay, we'll compile and save that. So now we're going to go into our build UI, and we'll need to create another button that we can use to spawn the farm itself. So I'm just going to click on this horizontal box that has everything here, and I'm going to click Control D to duplicate it. And all I'm gonna do is go to the town hall button _1. I'm gonna rename that to farm button. If I could type properly. There we go. And I'm gonna rename the text to reflect farm so that we know which one's which. Cool. So now what we need to do is click on this farm button down here and make sure that you've got is variable checked up here at the top. And we're gonna scroll down. And on the on-clicked event, we're going to click add, and that's going to take us to our graph. And what we're going to do is we're going to just copy all of this, and we're going to paste it right here. And then the only thing we're going to do is change this town hall. We're going to change that to be farm instead. Just like that. Compile and save. Let's test it out. Click this little play button up here. You get a little pop-up. We're going to click B. Oh, wait, I forgot. You got to click on the screen first. I got to figure out what's going on with that. That's kind of weird. And then we're going to click on farm. And we've got our farm. It's popping up. If we click, we have built our farm. Nice. Farm is built. But nothing really happens after that. So now we need to make a little bit of... now we need to go back into the farm actor over here, and what we're gonna do is we can delete all of this, I think. Yeah, cool. Yeah, we're gonna delete all of that. We'll compile and save it, and I'm gonna click right click. I'm gonna do on actor clicked, event actor on clicked. That's what it is. Boom. So what we're gonna do here is whenever somebody clicks the actor, I want to spawn a new UI actually. Maybe we should go ahead and create that first. So let's go into our UI. I'm going to create a new, I'm going to just take this build UI. I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to call it farm UI. We can just open that up and then change build menu, call it farm instead. And then I'm going to delete one of these rows. I'm going to change the name of the town hall button to be watermelon button. Like that. And under the text, I'm going to say watermelon. And so, yeah, of course. So we've got to add the on-click functionality. All of this is obviously copied over from the build UI, and we really don't need most of this. What we're going to do is when we click on this watermelon button itself, we're going to change the static mesh of this farm to then be the watermelon instead. So in order to do that, we actually need a variable. So we're going to add a variable. I'm going to call it farm clicked. And under the type, I'm going to change it from Boolean, and I'm going to search farm. And under this farm here, we're going to do object reference. And so this will tell us which farm was clicked. And so we're going to take this variable and drag it out here, get the farm clicked. And what I'm going to do is set static mesh. I'm going to set that static mesh. And we're going to change it to be the watermelon. Cool. So that's all we have to do, I think, there. All right, so then back into the farm actor. When you click on this actor, we need to create that UI. So off of this, we're going to do create widget. And we're going to create the farm UI. And we need to go ahead and tell the UI that we're creating which farm we clicked on. So on this return value, we're going to drag that out, and we're going to do farm clicked. We're going to set farm clicked. Connect those right there. And we can just drag off of this farm clicked and do self. And we'll just reference the self here. Boom. So now when we click on the farm, it will create a widget. It will tell the widget, hey, this is the farm I clicked on. And then when that widget pops up and we click on this watermelon button, it will then change the farm that we clicked on, that static mesh of that farm, to be the watermelon instead. So let's go ahead and give this a try and see if it works. All right, so I'm going to click on the screen again because it's ridiculous. And we're going to click farm, and we're going to make our farm. No, why isn't it working? All right, so forgot a crucial step here. So in the farm actor, after we assign the farm to be the farm click to be the self, we also need to add the widget to the viewport. So I'll redo it here just so you know exactly what I'm doing. You just got to drag off of this return value and do add to viewport. There we go. One other thing we're going to need to do as well is on the farm UI, once we click on this watermelon button, I want to close the UI. So we're going to remove from parent. And the target will be self. We're just going to take ourself, the UI itself, off. Okay, now we're going to compile and save that, and we'll give it another go. So if you click play and open up, there we go, and click on the screen, click B. We're going to do our farm, then click on the farm. We've got our farm UI. Click on watermelon, and we've got our watermelon. So there you have it, guys. Quick little tutorial there. We're just going to add those two models into the game as well as the actor for the farm itself. Next, what we really need to do is add in the time system. So it's going to keep track of the time in the game, how much time passes, maybe days if we want to do like a day-night cycle, something like that. So yeah, that's what we're going to do in the next episode. If you were able to follow along well and you like the video, please like the video itself. Give me that thumbs up down below. And if you want to keep up with this tutorial, feel free to subscribe to the channel to do so. But if you made it this far, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.